Hello and welcome back to SummoNerds. I'm Evan.
And I'm Matt.
Today we've got a new SummoNerds game for you. We've got some
What was
Nerds.
it?
We have another game for you. We've got the last of our kind of series of games where we're playing the new second Summoners. So we've got Scraven and Natazga.
Yeah, and what Evan was talking about was like on our channel there have been previous games that we've played that involved the previous second Summoners. So these are the last two that haven't been shown on the channel yet.
Exactly.
So
yeah, thank you for clearing that up. I'll put the other...
Well, absolutely. We're going to play a ton more games with these second
Oh,
Summoners.
yeah, no, I was just... Exactly. That was a good clarification. I'll put the links to the other ones we've already done in the description, just so that there have been at least one game with each of the new second Summoners so far. So, yeah, this game was really just to finish that out, so we have at least one game with each of the new Summoners. I'm playing Scraven, Matt's playing Natazga. Matt's good with Natazga. We've actually done this matchup privately before, and it was really interesting how these two interact.
Yeah, it is. It is fascinating how. You'll just have to watch. It's very exciting.
So Scraven, the way I built his deck, I wanted to really emphasize his kind of horde mentality, getting out lots of potentially cheap units, but just having out lots of units and how that's beneficial for him.
Yep.
And what would you say your deck theme was?
Well, for me, I just wanted... So, the way I like to play Natazga, first of all, is I burn through my deck very quickly and play very aggressively to try and clog as many summon points as I can and do as much damage as I can before the summon points start getting unclogged and my units start fizzling out. So my deck is designed with some tough units. I have some Savagers in the deck. I took out a few Mystics, and I took out like a Skull Taker maybe to make. I put two Savagers, a Swamp Beast in there, and I substituted Prong for the Champion Sklursh. Yeah, so I have Prong in there to make the champ cost a little lower, which let me boost my common cost a little bit. And the Savagers have 3 dice, so even without erosion, they have high odds to get a Vine Wall going on the wall, and they're just tough units. So my deck idea is to get some high-powered units, attack-wise, to hammer on the walls and start cut off those summon points and do some serious damage before the momentum turns the other way and my aggression fizzles out, is the idea.
So how we opened here is I got the first roll, and I went ahead and blocked that forward position on my wall because I didn't want Matt attacking it, and I left Scraven open, and this was debated between me and Matt if this was the best move or not, because he gets 2 hits on Scraven right at the very first turn, his very first turn. But I left Scraven open because I didn't want him to get an early 2-for-2 on my wall. Skull Takers are really powerful, nice units. Their 2 life and 2 attack for 1 cost is just kind of awesome.
Yep.
So that was I was trying to. I knew he had these 2 Skull Takers, and that it was likely he was going to be able to use them to take 2 of my walls' summon points, or block off 2 of my walls' summon points just with their presence. And it could be a little bit difficult to get rid of them once they're there. So I wanted to make sure that front position was covered. And this way, if he didn't kill my hunter, which was barely likely, but likely, I'd have a chance to kill his Swamp Archer, and where he moved his Zealot, I can maybe kill that, and I can maybe kill his other Skull Taker.
Yeah, I think I referred to the Swamp Archers as Mystics earlier, and that's what they were called during the playtesting phase, Mystics, and I just remember it. But they are definitely Swamp Archers. I won't make that mistake again.
So that's fine. I'm going to call everything Hunters because that's like half of my deck, or they're like all Hunters of one type or another. So yeah, I let myself take some hits early on Scraven because my idea here is I know Matt, with this deck, I know how Matt plays Natazga, and if I let him get Vine Walls on my wall early in the game, I won't be able to summon my commons for my kind of horde idea, and I'll be pretty much dead in the water very quickly. So what I was looking for here was some way to take out those 3 units I mentioned earlier while maintaining defensive position around my walls, or my wall. I guess I only have one wall. My wall. But the problem here is Matt can summon from his wall and reach my wall with a melee unit in the same turn. Right. And I realize that as I start to move towards that swamp archer. And that's really frustrating for me because I need to defend now Scraven, who's taken some hits, and my wall. And so I go ahead and I move in such a way that I can maybe get my Flinger to kill that Skull Taker and my other Hunter to kill the Zealot, and I can still keep Scraven safe. And I did move a unit with, actually moved 2 units with the Esteemed Leader ability, the Flinger and one of my Hunters, which is how I got 5 moves that turn.
Right. No, and that's important to note with Scraven too, is that he can free up a summon point if it's part of his Esteemed Leader ability before the summon phase occurs.
Yeah.
So like that's something that's interesting in this matchup, because Natazga can't use Scraven's units to block off the summon points because they can move out of the way if they're adjacent to Scraven, of course. But on the other end of the stick, if they're Vine Walls, then the Esteemed Leader movement is still Vine Walls still affect that. So it's if they're actually under the unit, then it's do I want to use Esteemed Leader to potentially hurt my units this turn?
So here I managed to get 2 of the 3 units I was hoping for, which was the odds, so that made some sense. Unfortunately, it means that because I didn't kill that Swamp Archer, that was kind of a bummer, because I did attack it, which means I attacked with 3 units, so I'm going to have to pull 2 of them back.
Right.
What I ended up doing was, if I'd killed the Swamp Archer, I probably would have left my Hunter up there, and brought the others back. But I brought back the Wounded Hunter because I didn't want it to be an easy kill for Matt. I didn't want him to be able to easily kill a Hunter and maybe kill 2 of my Hunters. There we go. That's how I ended up doing it. But I didn't have any other way of dealing with that, and I didn't kill the Swamp Archer, so he could just easily retaliate and kill my unit.
Right,
so I had to kind of pull back a little bit.
Yeah, and that Zealot, I was hoping it didn't die just because I wanted to get it some forward positioning just to suicide into a Vine Wall. Typically, I will suicide my Zealot on the opening turn I have, but my other 3 attacks I prioritized over the Zealot becoming a Vine Wall. So I was just hoping to have enough distractions that the Zealot wasn't a priority, but it died. So that's just how.
Well, and so now where we ended up here, my wall is open from at least 2 sides to attack, and Scraven's pretty safe behind that Wraith, but that's about it. So Skull Taker goes down, my worst nightmare again.
Yeah, Skull Takers are very, very cost efficient units.
Yes, they are.
Now they're not great at voice cracking, because I'm great at that. They're great at bashing those walls down.
Yes,
because that's what we really care about with Natazga, is getting those Vine Walls out, which can even act as units with two of the events in her deck. So
well, they're just decent. They're just decent common v common for their cost. I mean, you're bumping out these high-powered attack units that aren't likely to die easily. So Scraven, unfortunately, in the deck I've built in particular, but just in general, Scraven's base deck doesn't have a lot of high-powered attack in its commons. The commons are really meant to just be more numerous and overwhelm your opponent, and
and provide the buffs for Scraven himself on those important turns, and potentially the Hunters buffing each other, and
possibly just clog summon points and just get in your opponent's way, and and maybe Cyrus gets out there and then they're boosting him. So they're not really able to deal with these Skull Takers. Matt goes 4 for 4 on my wall here, and now I'm in some big trouble.
Yeah, no big deal. Just 2 Vine Walls there that are
and that's exactly
cutting off every single summon point.
Yeah, that's exactly what I didn't want that first turn, which is why I left Scraven open for an attack, and I was glad Matt took it, because if he'd gone 2 for 2 he did go 2 for 2 on Scraven, so if he'd gone 2 for 2 on my wall there, I'd be in that much worse position.
Yeah,
now.
and that's the interesting thing is 2 for 2. Like, if I want the Vine Wall, I have to go 2 for 2 on the wall. If I want to go 2 for 2, then I could attack Scraven also and just get 2 damage. So it's like, which one's better? If I do 1, then it was just better to go for Scraven. So that's why I would go for him in that situation. Unless I had Erosion on hand, which I didn't, then maybe I might have played that differently. But
exactly, and so that's I was trying to just make sure that I maintained my positioning for a little longer because really in an ideal Scraven situation, he probably shouldn't be taking that many wounds as the game develops. So a couple wounds in the early game is probably not that big a deal because you're always going to be able to pull units back around him to defend him.
Right, he'll have that shield on him.
However, against Natazga, that's a little bit more difficult to do because those Vine Walls just come out so fast and then they're on your side of the board. And they're a little better than Glurblubs because they can come out more frequently in a position like this, especially where Matt can summon from his Vine Wall, his nice forward, or from his regular wall, and reach my regular wall before the turn is up. He can just create Vine Walls off of his summon,
right?
Which is amazing. So I put my secondary wall pretty far back there, so as to make it a little bit harder for Matt to reach it. I realized that no matter how I move Scraven this turn, he's pretty much going to be in the line of fire. But I'm going to deal with that. I've got 3 to hit 2 on this Skull Taker. I've actually got 4 to hit 2 in a worst case scenario. But I've got 3 to hit 2 in a little bit of better case scenario where Scraven and the Wraith attack it. And we're going to see what happens here when this Wraith attacks.
Yeah, so Wraith's a really cool unit. There's seemingly double-edged sword ability where they die upon attacking but are pretty defensive otherwise without attacking. But the self-denial the unit has can be very useful to open up new attack ways for units behind it. Sort of similar to a shaman escaping, but the Wraith doesn't have to pay that extra magic to escape. It just leaves the field.
Yeah.
So some great combos can be had from there. So I just love the Wraith as a unit. It's really cool now.
So Scraven's good in this position because what he's going to do is he's going to pull his units around him to try to defend himself a little bit better. I did put an event ability on that Flinger earlier. I believe it was Strong Wind. And I was planning on using it that turn originally, but then the turn I put it on him, but then changed my plan around and didn't want to pull it back into my hand because I'd already played it. So I left it on him. So I'm probably going to lose that Flinger this turn, is my thought, but it prevents Scraven from being hit for one more turn. The summoning point is my only summoning point I can use at this point is blocked off by my own Hunter, who still has 2 HP left. And that's important because, like Matt was explaining earlier, once it gets around to my turn, I can use a Steam Leader to, during the end of the draw phase, move my Hunter and then still summon onto that space.
Exactly.
And I've got a whole wall now down in the corner where I can summon some more units.
Yes, and and that's the thing. Like, keeping Scraven from taking those wounds is big sauce because the way I'm burning through my deck because I just burn through this deck so fast. Most of the magic I get with Natazga comes from my own stuff because I'm attacking walls a lot of the time, so I'm not generating the the magic from units that I always like to be. But because of her great early positioning, she can establish, she can end games quickly or get so many walls out that it's just tough for your opponent to have any options. And so I did play Fury of the Fen this turn, giving me that's a great economic card as well as just a great offensive card.
It is.
Because it doesn't cost any magic, and the Vine Walls you have become really strong units for a turn and establish themselves on the field in better positions than they were before.
Exactly. So you see Matt moved his one Vine Wall up, so it is now able to maybe kill this Flinger, and if it does, then the Vine Wall under the Flinger could become a
Yep,
that unit as well.
Yeah, exactly. And so my initial thought with this turn was I'll use the Vine Wall, kill the Flinger, and then, I'll like, so I got the Flinger, and then I'm like, oh, okay, so now I have a free Vine Wall to attack Scraven. But then I'm thinking that that Hunter is wounded.
Yep.
And I have a good position right now. Do I need potential wounds on Scraven? Or is 4 a good enough amount and I can just generate some magic here and kill that Hunter? So that's what I do. I kill the Hunter.
It's probably a wise move because now my other Hunter is also weaker.
Yeah, so now that Hunter is weak, which allows the final attack from the Mystic here to have 2 dice.
From the what to what? What's
I was
attacking
joking.
now?
I'm glad you were paying attention.
It was a pretty good one, Matt.
Yeah. Making sure you weren't asleep there.
I think I actually think you're also debating here whether or not the Savager should do something this turn.
Yes. So the debate is whether or not the Savager attacks the wall and generates another Vine Wall, which I think is what I actually do.
Yeah.
As opposed to attacking the Hunter for the extra magic, because my thought here is the Savager.
Yep.
The Savager hits the wall and gets the Vine Wall down, so no summoning can be done off that wall. And it got a big old
nice
hit.
roll there, So now my wall is in trouble.
And if Esteemed Leader wants to be used, he has to risk losing the Hunter to me anyway. So, like, there's a 50% chance that Hunter, that I attacked it anyway and still did the damage to the wall, essentially, is kind of how I did that.
So I lost 2 commons that turn, which was important for Scraven. I've got in my hand Bloodthirsty, Cyrus, another Hunter of both varieties, and a Bomber.
So Bloodthirsty and Cyrus both wanting those commons out on the board.
So having both of those commons gone was a good move on Matt's part, and he removed my summon point with his Vine Wall because I would have used Esteemed Leader this turn on that Hunter, get it out of the way, and I still am going to try. And the reason is it could kill either one of those units next to it.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to try this. Unfortunately, it didn't work.
It dies. But then what's okay with that is I've got another Sand Goblin Hunter in my hand that now costs 0. Yep. And before it would have cost 1. So I thought though I gave Matt a magic, I saved myself a magic because I wanted to play those 3 commons in my hand this turn.
Yeah.
So either way, it was it wasn't terrible that it turned out that way. I would have been much happier if it had moved forward and killed something, but what worked, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, so that's
So Cyrus goes down. I've been planning on Cyrus coming out this whole turn.
Yep.
And that's what I was saving up for last time. Unfortunately, Cyrus now has a whopping 0 attack.
Yeah, at this point, Cyrus is not helpful, but
0 AV.
I believe you have 2 units.
Yep.
That can be summoned at 0.
And 2 summon points left, so it works out all right. I decided to go with the Hunter in the back.
Yeah, preserve those Hunters.
Preserve the Hunter and also get the Bomber. Its range can be used this turn on either the Skull Taker or the Swamp Archer, depending on how I move. So I'm going to move up forward with Cyrus because he now has 2 attack. His attack can just skyrocket if Matt's not careful. I get him towards that Vine Wall, and then I'm going to get I'm going to redo that so that the Bomber can attack the Skull Taker. I think there we go.
Yep. And Cyrus's health is a bit of an issue for me just because I don't really want to spend resources on killing Cyrus, wasting attacks on him, especially if he gets to the point where he's strong enough to dish it right back to me, and my deck's running out. So my position is very important, and my units are very important.
So I go 2 for 2 on the Vine Wall,
so
and
I throw down this big Quagmire.
It's probably the best card in Natazga's deck, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I prefer Fury of the Fen only because Quagmire can really drain you on magic with the way her economy works. So it's really tough to actually be able to take advantage of Quagmire the next turn after you use it. I happen to have a nice stack, which was the idea. Yeah. That comes from me playing the deck a little bit. That I discard a lot. I discard a lot with Natazga champions. If they're in the turn for more, if they're in my hand for more than a turn, I'll typically discard them. They have to go in order to preserve this offensive Vine Wall onslaught.
Well, and so for 2 magic, you've preserved your Vine Wall and created another, which meant that my bomber could not attack your Skull Taker. It would have killed it, too.
Yeah, so the bomber probably should have attacked first.
Yeah, I hadn't been considering Quagmire. That was my fault.
Yeah.
But either way, that was just a bad turn for me, because now my position is significantly worse. Scraven could now be hit from 2 sides. Matt doesn't have the magic for it, obviously, for like 2 Savagers or something big like that. But honestly, the units he already has, he has a Savager and a Skull Taker, both within range of Scraven or a Swamp Archer, whichever.
My Swamp Archer on the board can hit Scraven right now.
Right now. Exactly. So and Matt could summon something else back behind Scraven that has a 100% chance of being able to attack him. That Zealot would be great at that job. So if Matt rolled 4 for 4 this turn, he just wins. And I don't have a great way of defending Scraven in following turns. The only thing I do have is where I put my wall, my second wall. I've been always planning this whole game, if things get really bad, which they did with that Quagmire in particular. If things get really bad, I can swing Scraven around and put him in the corner of the board. It's not an ideal spot for Scraven. It's not an ideal spot for me. I could get trapped there for the rest of the game and just slowly lose, which is likely. If things were that bad, it's kind of likely that I'll just lose. But I do know that my deck is not going down that quickly, and Matt's is. And so if I can somehow weather the storm and come out on the other end, I can come back, especially with Scraven. All I need is some 0-cost units, and all of a sudden Cyrus is a monster. And I can drop half my deck and just get out Dinky and win. In a late game where there's not very much left, in particular, Dinky is humongous.
Yeah. He is. He's a giant.
He's a big old fella. So he would be great in a late game where Matt has no magic and no way to just summon commons and deal with him. Dinky versus Natazga in a late game would be a great scenario for me, but it's a little bit unlikely.
So no.
Because Matt's burning his deck so hard, I'm not really able to take the aggression.
Right, and so I could have tried for a 4 for 4 attempt on Scraven, but I didn't want the. I mean, I just figured I can throw 1 attack at him, get him nice and weak, and I can also cut off his extra summon points. Now again, I wasn't fully considering that he could have steamed leader and open up that summon point that he has next to the hunter. So I was actually thinking I blocked every single summon point, and that's kind of what drove me to that move over just throwing 4 dice at Scraven. But that was I just went 2 for 2. Now Scraven only has 2 hits left.
Yep.
I have a great Vine Wall position now in the back row. I still have my second Fen in the deck somewhere.
Yep.
I'm going through it quickly, so I'm probably going to draw the cards I need very soon.
So Bloodthirsty Dinky, there he is. Send out, which is not very helpful right now. Another Send Out, which is also not helpful right now, and then a Hunter.
Yes, send outs are incredibly situational. They're they're either to me they seem like an either use that turn or a discard to magic immediately. Sort of like Duck and Covers were in Krusk, or Shinies. Duck and Covers can be extremely useful at the right time. Shinies are very situational.
Exactly, and that's kind of how I feel about Scraven's ability. Is usually something I play around. I play with that in mind when I start the deck. I'm already thinking about how my commons will come back to me. There aren't very many turns where I want them away from Scraven because he's not that strong by himself. I do use a Steam Leader to get my commons all moved around here. But yeah, I don't know. Like Send Out could be helpful in some situation, but right now with Scraven with 2 life left, it's definitely not. So I spend the only magic I have on another Hunter. Now my Hunters are a little stronger. I'm going to try to move Cyrus around this Vine Wall here, because I'm thinking to myself, if I get close to Natazga with Cyrus, if I get within a move of Natazga, then Matt is going to have to move Natazga, and that'll be one of his movements every turn will be running away with Natazga, and Scraven gets esteemed leader movements. So I will still get a reasonable number of moves each turn, and I'll be winning on the movement economy. And if I can get my units moving around faster, he'll only be able to move 2 of his units per turn. and I can start maybe to come back. The only problem with my plan is that you can summon units right where you need them. Yeah. Because you can summon them just about anywhere.
Right, and the other thing is just plopping that wall down to cut Natazga off entirely.
Yep. Yes. And I was just hoping you didn't have that or you weren't planning on using it. But I mean, you kind of have to just take some risks at this point based on the position of Vines. And that 0 for 3. Yep. On the Vine Wall. I was trying to kill the Vine Wall under Cyrus, I believe.
Yeah.
So 0 for 3 on that. Didn't hit with the Hunter on the Zealot. And if that was what I just did, and then maybe I'm doing one more attack, and it's going to be Scraven on that wall, and yeah, that was what it was. And am I thinking about it? I'm pretty sure I did actually attack. Okay, it was a wall. Attacking the wall with the bomber. Yeah. Bomber misses, so he now gets discarded on top of everything. Yeah. So I went 5 for 5 misses that turn.
Yeah, that is not likely for anybody.
Yeah, so that was unfortunate for me, especially because I lost the bomber, which makes Cyrus less powerful. It did do one thing, which was remove an easy magic source for you. Discarding it wasn't the worst outcome for me because the magic denial, I guess, was sort of nice, but mostly bad because I didn't really want it. I wanted you to have to work for it. I wanted you to have to use an attack on it. So
So there is my second Quagmire. So I know that's there, so I don't have to worry about any of my great walls. But also have a couple little guys, which is nice. I had a Zealot and a Skull Taker that I could pop out. Battle Champion is another situational event. If it's not immediately useful, I'll just discard it to Magic.
Especially the way you play Natazga, it doesn't benefit to hold on to a card that could become sort of useful later.
If a Skull Taker gets a kill, and I'm able to protect it for the turn, that means I can run it away, and then I can have a reduced cost champion come out at some point. Even though it's not necessarily summoned in an amazing position, it's still it's magic efficient to get it out. So
I agree.
I'll definitely preserve Skull Takers if I can get them out of the way. That's only happened to me one time, I think, that I've been able to successfully use Battle Champion.
It's great when you get it, especially because Natazga struggles to get under champs the way you're playing her. I think she could probably be used as a champ-heavy deck if you really thought of her differently and built the deck a little differently. I think it's possible, but I like the way you're playing her with this really aggressive, common-based build.
Yeah, that's...
So that was a miss with the Zealot on the wall, I believe.
Yes.
So, which is nice for me. Unfortunately, I can't use a Steamed Leader to get my Hunter out of the way either way, so that spot is blocked. I am actually completely locked here in terms of summon points.
So it's just that was the 2 for 2 I really wanted this turn was on the wall, just so I could clog that final summon point for sure. And then use my last 2 attacks to kill the Hunter in the way, like on the vinyl. But that's fine. We're still. So I was debating. I was thinking, do I just bust my Zealots apart into Vine Walls, or do I just attack them, or do I just attack the Hunter?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could use some magic, and it's not terrible if I lose those Zealots.
Yeah, because you keep the summon point.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you summon them, so that's fine. So you're going to attack that same Hunter to make sure that you get the kill, as opposed to attack a fresh Hunter, which would have technically destroyed both of them.
Right, and I was debating whether or not to attack the fresh Hunter, because if I attack the fresh one and don't kill it, then I actually am denying the summon point. But if I do kill it, then I don't get both as magic, but both of them are gone.
Which would be big, because then Cyrus is back to 0 attack and can't do better than 1 for the next turn.
So I was definitely debating, but I'm like, I just kind of want magic more than anything right now. So I just got an extra bit of magic and said, go ahead and summon something. It doesn't
matter too much at this point, probably, unless I can pull something out of my hat here really quick. So still got Dinky, got Bomber, Hunter. Those Hunters are great. The Sand Goblin or the Sand Cloak Hunters are just great units. Especially the way I was thinking about this deck was that the deck could have some event abilities played. It wouldn't hurt. My Sand Cloak Hunters could have some event abilities, and the Hunter synergy would work out well. I can go really common heavy with Cyrus and the Hunters, and maybe some Bombers will help out with that because they're just so easy to throw out there. But if things were looking bad, I could transition into a more chant-based economy, and I could go with Dinky, and I think my last champion was Fink, who's really cheap. And all of my champions were relatively cheap, 4, 5, and 6, to allow me to play more common heavy, and all my commons are cheap. So the idea was just to be able to choose multiple different possible kind of paths of synergy, sort of either use lots of event ability type hunters, and maybe with Fink out there, or Cyrus with the hunters and with the bombers, or just commons, or if all else fails, Dinky. But all else fails in a big way here because of the position I'm in. So I'm not really able to summon anything. Here, we can get that.
Yeah.
My computer's about to die.
She's dying on us.
There you go, old girl. All right. This is an old computer, actually. It's not just name. That's actually...
Her name is Old Girl, but she's also an old computer.
It's a very descriptive title I've given her. So, all right. I did get the Zealot out of the way, which is nice. I got a couple Zealots out of the way here.
Whoa! Hold that thought.
And then tried to destroy a Vine Wall, and guess what happens?
Quagmire, so that's going to go plop right under Scraven, since that's the only spot it could go.
Yep.
I could have just paid 1 to stop the attack, which I thought about too, but I'm like, I'll put another one under him. It's just an extra. Yeah. It's an extra hassle that he's doing.
And I used a Bloodthirsty to get those dice, mostly because I didn't have anything else to use Bloodthirsty on, probably for the rest of the game. I'm really worried that I'm just not going to have any opportunities to attack Matt with Bloodthirsty. It's been clogging my hand for a while. I need to destroy that Vine Wall so that I can actually have maybe another summon point, or get Scraven back there safely. Either way, it's just been bothering me, and that would force Matt to attack the wall again this turn with that Zealot, and either get a Vine Wall next to Scraven or a Vine Wall under the Hunter, not both. But it did not work and produced an even more terrible result, which is that extra Vine Wall under Scraven.
So here comes Fury of the Fen.
Yep.
And
but this is also something I was trying to avoid. I didn't want that next to me for Fury of the Fen.
Yep, Fury of the Fen and Erosion. So the idea is the Erosion is going to plant the Vine Wall under that Hunter for 100%. And yep. So I had to move my walls around so that I was still clogging that wall.
Yep.
That I just haven't had the attack to spare on it. It has 1 hit left, but I just haven't had the third attack to spare on it. So I still had to keep that clogged. So I put that wall under. So that means absolutely no more summoning. Evan will not be able to summon this next turn for sure. So the idea, kill that Hunter, get another 2 dice on Scraven. So there's the Hunter.
That's the Hunter.
Now it freed up another attack here on Scraven.
And you could have just used the other Vine Wall against Scraven.
Exactly.
But either way, you only got 2 dice on Scraven. This way, you also made sure you got rid of the Hunter.
Right.
I mean, you could have done them in reverse order. It wouldn't have really mattered.
This is more flashy looking.
Yeah, because you get to use the Vine Wall under the Hunter to attack Scraven.
Right, and that did finish him off. Yeah. So that was That was
a really good showcase for Natazga in particular, how scary she can be, because I was just completely overwhelmed. I did have a couple rough kind of dice rolls and on both your dice attacking me and my dice attacking you, but even still, it's just if you lose an inch to Natazga, you can lose a mile. And
there's me showing how little my deck was, and compared to Evan, who had a whole bunch of deck left.
Oh, so that is at least half.
Right. So my strategy involves burning that. I play the Cave Goblin Sneaks, very similar.
Yeah.
Sneaks burn through that deck very quickly to make sure you get the event combo you need.
Well, a lot of these really aggressive decks, I think that's one of the more important things, is that you always had magic to be able to do what you wanted. You always had the ability, and I didn't. I wasn't able.
Right.
Well, thanks guys for watching. We hope you liked it. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. SummoNerds out.
SummoNerds out.